Hey everyone, so in this section we're talking about key differences that exist between universities that are based in the United States as compared to universities that are based in Canada. Now, of course, we can't touch upon all of the differences as well as all of the similarities. However, hopefully this will be a very good introduction to those of you who are doing some research and perhaps you're just interested in how your experience differs from somebody else who's studying in a different country. Now, the first thing I want to talk about is Greek life. As you've probably already done some research, you've noticed that Greek life within the United States is far more prominent than it is within universities based in Canada. Now, of course, there still are some fraternities and sororities within Canada. However, it's not nearly as pronounced as it is in the United States, and it actually plays a big cultural part of the university experience. And so if you're already doing some research, you've probably already noticed that one of the biggest differences is standardized test scores and how they pertain to the admissions processes within Canada and the United States. What you'll find is that American students who intend on studying within the United States will typically be required to write a standardized test score, otherwise known as the SAT. Whereas in Canada, the admissions is far more reliant on the candidate's high school performance and the transcripts that they're able to apply with. One of the things that I really love about the SAT score is the fact that it's a great way for universities to actually standardize a lot of candidates they might not be very familiar with. And what I mean by this is that you're going to get applications that come in from a variety of different school districts across the United States. And so it might be very difficult for an admissions committee to determine what school district actually compares to another school district and how they can actually standardize each of the candidates to ensure that everyone is being evaluated based on the same criteria. So having something like a standardized test is a great way for them to determine whether or not the candidate is going to be competitive in the program that they're actually going to be applying to and whether or not they're going to be successful overall. Now, it's also worth mentioning that not all universities in the United States will require an SAT score. There are a variety of different programs that will allow students to actually apply without an SAT score. So if you're someone who isn't very good at standardized tests and you're hoping that you can avoid the SAT requirement, there are opportunities for you. However, if you're looking at some of the most elite institutions within the United States, not only are you going to need an SAT score to apply with, but you're going to need a very strong SAT score in order to be competitive. So the next thing I want to talk about is the prestige that's associated with the universities based in either of the two respected countries. Now, one of the things to keep in mind is if you were to look at the top universities that are based in Canada, you'll find that many of them are public institutions, whereas in the United States, many of the top ranked institutions are a combination of everything. You'll find some Ivy League institutions, you'll find some private liberal arts based colleges, and you'll find some world renowned public institutions in there as well. And so when somebody in the United States says that they're going to a private institution, it could mean a variety of different things. Whereas in Canada, if someone says that they're going to a private institution, you typically think that they're going to a religious based institution and they're doing so for some cultural or religious reasons. As many of the top ranked programs that you've probably been accustomed to hearing about internationally are going to be based in public institutions. And so the next point we want to talk about is the fact that in the United States, it's very common for students to get an associate's degree before they actually progress to a four-year college, whereas in Canada, this isn't quite as common. Of course, there are some programs that do transition students from community colleges to a four-year university, and typically they're very specific programs. Some examples might be within nursing or within engineering. However, it's far less common in some other fields. This does, of course, differ depending on the specific college and university that you happen to be interested in. So if you are based in Canada and this is something that interests you, it is very important for you to do your research to determine whether or not this is something that's possible for you and whether or not it's something that makes sense for your future career goals. Now, one of the other things to really keep in mind is the fact that I think a lot of the reasons why a lot of people would gravitate towards an associate's degree based in the United States is because of the fact that tuition based in four-year universities in the United States can differ quite dramatically. And what we mean by this is there are some universities that might have a tuition that's within some of the low thousands to some universities that do have tuitions that can get as high as $30,000 or $40,000 per year just for tuition alone. Now, within Canada, however, you will find certain programs that are priced higher than some others as well. However, the discrepancy isn't going to be quite as dramatic. And so for this reason, it does make sense for a lot of US-based students to pursue an associate's degree if they are able to save some money in the meantime and then transfer to a four-year college where they're able to finish up their degree but also save some money in the meantime. And so one of the last things we want to talk about is the fact that academic scholarships are going to be such a huge component to helping you decide where it is you want to study. One of the things to keep in mind if you've already done some research is you've probably found that full tuition scholarships within the United States tends to be a little bit more common than it is in Canada. Now, of course, both countries definitely do offer some level of scholarships either through private institutions or through the university themselves. So it's very important for students to be very diligent about looking for scholarships, particularly if you're targeting a university that is quite costly and outside of your financial reach. However, in the United States, full tuition scholarships happens to be one of the most powerful tools universities have in attracting top talent. Typically, this talent will come from a variety of different strong academic backgrounds, or if somebody has a very strong athletic background and they're going to be playing a particular sport within a university, this might provide them with some level of scholarship opportunities. And so it's very important for you to be super diligent about this research process and to determine whether or not there's any type of scholarships that you can qualify for and whether or not this is going to play a huge role in your decision-making process. Even if you don't have an extremely strong academic background and you don't happen to play any sports, always keep an eye out for other discretionary type of scholarships. For example, if you happen to come from an underrepresented group, perhaps this could provide you with some type of scholarships that you might not have otherwise known that you qualify for. Now, of course, this principle is going to apply regardless of the university and the country that you intend on studying at. So that's going to be it for this section. I hope this acted as a great starting point for those of you who are thinking about studying in either of the two countries. And for those of you who are already studying in either of the two countries, I'd love to know your thoughts, comments, questions, and concerns in the comment section below. As always, if you appreciated this segment, please make sure to subscribe and to like. Also, be sure to leave some suggestions for future segments in the comment section below as well. As always, thank you so much again for listening, and we'll see you in the next one.